I want you to notice something. Not about your past, not about your mistakes, but about the strange, almost embarrassing pattern that keeps repeating in your life. Every time you force your future to come faster, every time you push harder, grind more, try to fix yourself, every time you tell the universe, fine. If you're not giving me the life I want, I'll drag myself there by sheer will. Everything gets worse. It's like the moment you push, your future quietly steps back. Not to punish you, not to mock you, but because forcing is a frequency the future cannot respond to. And deep down, you've felt this, haven't you? Those nights when you tighten your jaw and whisper, "Why is nothing moving? I'm doing everything right." Those mornings when you wake up and already feel behind, as if the future is some creature sprinting away from you the moment you chase it. Let me tell you a truth most people never hear. Your future doesn't arrive when you chase it. It arrives when you stop interfering with the path it already has. I know that sounds backwards. I know your mind is arguing with it right now. Because you've been trained your entire life to believe that the harder you push, the faster you grow. That success is a marathon of tension, that the universe is impressed by your suffering. But what if the suffering isn't a badge of honor? What if it's a sign you're walking in the exact opposite direction? What if the frustration you feel isn't life blocking you, but your own energy pushing against the current that was always meant to carry you? Let me ask you something simple. Have you ever noticed that the moments you stop forcing, the moments you finally exhale, stop overthinking, let go of that death grip on your timeline, life suddenly moves? The text arrives. The idea appears, the opportunity shows up, the person calls, the path clears. Not because you tried harder, but because for a split second, your energy stopped contradicting the future that was trying to reach you. And that's the paradox almost no one sees. The more you chase your future, the more it slips sideways, but the moment you stop pushing, it begins to move toward you. Not slowly, not reluctantly, but immediately. Like something that's been waiting behind a thin, invisible wall you didn't even know you were holding up. So here's the real question, the one that's been following you for years. If your effort isn't the thing creating delay, then what is? Why does pushing harder make you fall out of alignment? Why does the universe respond to your letting go but not your forcing? Why does the moment you give up often feel like the moment everything finally connects? You've felt this paradox. Now it's time to understand it, because there is a flow, a real energetic slipstream that's been guiding you toward a future already aligned with who you're becoming. You haven't missed it. You haven't lost it. You've just been fighting the very current meant to carry you. And once you see why, nothing about the way you move toward your future will ever be the same. Let me ask you something that might feel unsettling at first. But stay with me. Let the question breathe inside you for a moment. What if your future, the one you keep chasing, the one you keep trying to earn, isn't ahead of you at all? What if it already exists? Not as a fantasy, not as a wish, but as a fully formed timeline waiting for you like a silent doorway. A doorway you keep walking past because you're too busy trying to build a tunnel in the wrong direction. I want you to imagine something. Imagine that the future isn't a destination you travel toward, but a stream, a flow, a current of energy already moving with or without your effort, and the only thing you actually need to do is learn how to enter it, not force it, not outrun it, not drag your exhausted body across the floor of your life hoping to impress it. Just slip into it. This is the idea most people never consider. What if the future doesn't require force, only alignment? Because there is a phenomenon, one you've probably felt but never named, a kind of energetic draft, like the pull behind a moving object, that accelerates you the moment you step into its flow. I call it the energetic slipstream. It feels like clarity, it feels like direction, it feels like life suddenly stops resisting you and instead begins guiding you, pushing you, carrying you. And the strange part, when you're in it, everything feels easier than you think it should. That's usually the first sign you found it. But here's the twist. Slipstreams don't appear when you're tense. They don't open when you're frantic. They don't reveal themselves when you're screaming at the universe for help. They show up the moment you stop interfering, the moment you quiet the noise long enough to feel the current that was always there. So the real question isn't, how do I get to my future faster? The real question is, how do I enter the flow that's already leading me there? And that's the mystery we're going to unravel. Because if this slipstream is real, if your future truly has its own current, then the rules of how you move through life are about to change completely. Before we go any deeper into the mechanics of the energetic slipstream, I want to give you 3 images, 3 scenes, 3 metaphors so clear your mind can't forget them, even if you tried. Because concepts fade, but images cling to you. They reappear in moments when you need them most. So let's start with the first. 1. The cyclist behind the lead rider. Picture a cyclist. Not the one in front, the one behind. He's not pedaling harder. He's not grinding his teeth or burning every calorie in panic mode. He's simply positioned in the draft, sliding into the invisible pocket of air that the lead bike creates. In that pocket, the air resistance drops. His effort decreases, yet his speed increases. He moves faster by doing less. Not because he's lazy, but because he understands flow. This is what happens when your energy aligns with your future's trajectory. You move farther with less strain. Remember that. 2. The plane landing with the wind, not against it now. Imagine a plane approaching a runway. When the wind is aligned just right, the landing feels smooth, effortless, like the sky itself is supporting the descent. But if the pilot tries to land against an opposing gust, everything becomes unstable. The plane shakes, it dips. The pilot fights the controls. The landing becomes a battle, not a transition. And here's the truth you need to feel. Most people approach their future like a pilot trying to land against the wind, forcing a timeline that isn't aligned with their current identity state. Slipstream isn't about willpower, it's about orientation. 3. The boat moving with the current. And finally, picture a small wooden boat on a river. You're sitting inside it. There's a current beneath you, steady, strong, alive. If you let go of control for a moment, the river carries you. Not randomly, not recklessly, but purposefully. Because the river always knows the way downstream. But if you panic, if you grab the oars and start rowing against that current, you exhaust yourself without moving an inch. Your struggle doesn't change the river, it only weakens you. Slipstream is the opposite of struggle. It's allowing the river to reveal the direction it was always pulling you toward. The point beneath all three, whether it's the cyclist, the plane, or the boat, the message is the same. Forcing is simply resistance wearing a mask of effort. Flow is effortlessness rooted in alignment. Every time you push against your natural direction, you slow down your own evolution. But every time you position yourself inside the energetic draft of your future, life accelerates you in ways you can't explain. And that's what we're moving toward next. Because once you understand these metaphors, you'll be ready to shatter the old paradigm that has been quietly sabotaging your growth for years. There's a belief you've carried for so long you don't even notice it anymore. A belief that feels noble, responsible, admirable, yet it quietly sabotages your entire future. It's the belief that says, if I want a better life, I just have to push harder. You've been told this since childhood. You've been rewarded for it, praised for it, applauded for it. The late nights, the tension in your shoulders, the relentless internal pressure to do more. But let me tell you something you were never allowed to question. Trying harder doesn't always take you forward. Sometimes it only digs you deeper into the very reality you're trying to escape. Because forcing isn't strength. Forcing is fear that learned how to disguise itself as discipline. And if you're honest, you've felt this fear, haven't you? The fear that if you stop pushing, even for a moment, everything will collapse. You'll fall behind, you'll lose your chance, your future will evaporate. But that fear didn't come from your potential, it came from your conditioning. Let me put this more clearly. Your actions don't shape your future. Your state of being does. You can take the right actions from the wrong energy and still collapse the timeline you're trying to reach. Because in the quantum field, your future doesn't respond to your effort. It responds to your frequency. And forcing is the frequency of lack. It says, I'm not enough yet. My life isn't enough yet. Something is missing, so I must fight my way to what I want. But here's the part no one teaches you. When you act from lack, you reinforce lack. When you push from fear, you stabilize fear. When you chase from insecurity, you broadcast insecurity into the field. And the quantum field isn't judging you, it's mirroring you. So every time you force your way forward, you aren't actually moving forward. You're looping, you're circling. You're replaying the same emotional state under a different costume. You're doing more, but becoming the same. And that's why nothing changes. Because the future you want doesn't require a stronger version of your fear. It requires a different version of your identity. Let this sink in. The future you desire already exists, but you block it every time you try to force yourself toward it. Not because you're weak, not because you're lazy, but because forcing is a declaration that says, I don't trust the path that's already open to me. And trust, not effort, is what aligns you with the slipstream. We're about to enter the deeper logic behind this, the quantum mechanics, the coherence, the resonance. Because once you understand the actual physics behind why forcing fails, you'll never move the same way again. I want you to forget motivation for a moment. Forget mindset. Forget discipline. Let's talk about what's actually happening beneath all of that. In the field of information that shapes your reality long before you ever take a step. Because whether you realize it or not, you're not moving through life in a straight line. You're moving through a quantum field of potential futures, each one vibrating at its own frequency. And here's the part most people never understand. Your future doesn't respond to your effort. It responds to your coherence. Let me explain the future as a potential state. In quantum physics, a potential state exists long before it becomes physical. It's not fantasy, it's not imagination. It's an actual measurable possibility. A timeline waiting for you to match its frequency so it can collapse into reality. Your desired future isn't out there. It's not in the distance. It's sitting in the field, fully formed, waiting for resonance, waiting for you to tune into the version of you who already lives inside it. You don't chase that version, you align with it. This is where everything changes. Forcing equals frequency distortion. When you're desperate, tense, stressed, or pushing from fear, your energy becomes jagged, incoherent, chaotic, like trying to match a radio station while someone keeps shaking the antenna. You might be taking the right actions, but if your frequency is distorted, you keep slipping out of alignment with your intended timeline. And you felt this distortion before. That moment your mind spirals, that tightness in your chest, that frantic urgency of I need results now. That fear that if you stop for even 2 minutes, everything will fall apart. That isn't progress, that's interference. You're not creating the future, you're scrambling the signal that leads to it. Stop forcing, return to waveform. When you stop forcing, something quiet but powerful happens. Your energy returns to its natural wave state. Smooth, consistent, coherent. This is the state the quantum field reads clearly. It's like going from static noise to a clean, pure tone that the universe actually understands. And here's where the magic happens. Coherence collapses the timeline you want. Not because you worked harder, not because you proved yourself, but because your frequency finally matched the timeline you were trying to reach. It's not effort that creates the collapse. It's compatibility. You don't earn your future, you tune to it. Attractor fields and emotional gravity. Every timeline emits an attractor field, a kind of emotional gravity. The future you want has its own emotional signature: confidence, groundedness, clarity, peace, expansiveness. When your emotional state matches that signature, the timeline pulls you effortlessly, like a magnet pulling metal. This is the energetic slipstream from the quantum perspective. It's not woo, it's resonance, which means, and this is the revelation most people never see, you don't move toward your future. Your future moves toward you the moment you stop contradicting its frequency. That's the physics of it, not metaphor, not mindset, physics. So the real work is not forcing, not grinding, not pushing. The real work is coherence. And coherence is what we're going to connect with the body next. Because your nervous system is either amplifying your frequency or distorting it beyond recognition. Let's shift from the quantum field into something far closer to home, your nervous system. Because even if your energy is aligned, even if the future is pulling you, even if the slipstream is wide open, you can't enter it if your brain thinks you're in danger. And that's what forcing really is. Not ambition, not discipline, but your nervous system slipping into survival mode. Let me show you how this works. Your brain in forcing mode equals threat detection. When you push, strain, hustle, grind. Your brain interprets that as a warning signal. It says something isn't safe, something is missing. I must survive. In that moment, your body floods with survival chemistry. Cortisol, adrenaline, tension through your back and jaw, tunnel vision, rapid, shallow breathing. This isn't motivation. This is biology preparing you to fight or run. And here's the problem. A mind in survival mode can't see possibility. It can't detect flow. It can't sense subtle direction. It doesn't have access to the intuition required to recognize the slipstream. Your awareness becomes narrow. So narrow that even if the right path is right beside you, you literally cannot perceive it. You're not unlucky. Your nervous system is overwhelmed. Flow requires safety, not effort. Slipstream only opens when your system shifts into openness. This is the opposite of forcing. In openness, your breathing deepens, your awareness expands, your prefrontal cortex lights up. Creativity turns back on. Clarity returns. Your perception widens. You feel the pull of the right direction. This is why your best ideas show up when you're relaxed, in the shower, on a walk right before sleep, or in those rare moments when you finally stop pushing. Your brain isn't being lazy. It's finally functioning. Survival mode pulls you out of the timeline. Think of it like this. When you're forcing, your nervous system collapses into the past, reinforcing old patterns, old fears, old identities. You switch from possibility mode to protection mode, and the slipstream can't connect with you because the version of you who can enter it isn't accessible when you're bracing for impact. You can't align with your future while your biology is still defending your past. Flow equals expanded awareness equals slipstream access. When your body feels safe, your awareness expands outward. You pick up subtle cues again. Those micro signals the future is always sending. This is why, when you stop forcing, you suddenly know what to do next. You suddenly feel the next step. You suddenly sense timing. That's your nervous system coming back online. That's your biology letting you merge with the field again. And that's the doorway to the slipstream. To enter it, your body must shift from tension to trust, from contraction to coherence, from survival to alignment. And that shift is what lets the future finally reach you. Now, let's step into the layer most people misunderstand, the layer that has been twisted, diluted, and turned into cliches. So much so that you might have rejected it without ever truly understanding it. The spiritual layer. Because if the quantum field is the blueprint and your nervous system is the instrument, then your inner guidance, your soul, intuition, higher self, whatever you choose to call it, is the compass. And you can't follow a compass if you're too busy forcing your own direction. Surrender isn't giving up. It's stopping the fight. Most people think surrender means quitting, letting go of dreams, lowering standards, becoming passive. But that's not surrender, that's defeat. True surrender is something else entirely. True surrender is when you stop using your ego to wrestle with a timeline that your soul is already leading you into. It's the moment you release the need to control the how, but stay committed to the truth of where you're meant to go. Surrender is not the absence of power. It's the removal of resistance. It's not weak, it's aligned. Your soul leads, your ego forces. You've felt this before, that quiet nudge, that internal tug, that subtle whisper of not this way, not anymore. But you ignored it because the ego was louder, more dramatic, more urgent. Your ego screams, try harder, push more. If you don't control everything, nothing will happen. But your deeper self, your real self, never raises its voice. It doesn't need to. It simply waits for the moment you stop drowning it out. Slipstream happens when your soul's direction finally becomes louder than your ego's panic. Alignment is a quiet frequency. The funny thing is, your soul doesn't push. It doesn't strain, it doesn't hustle, it guides, it nudges, it aligns, it opens doors you couldn't have forced open in 1,000 lifetimes. When you're connected to that guidance, your decisions feel different, your timing feels different, your steps feel lighter, cleaner, more precise. Like something unseen is syncing you with the right moment automatically. This is the energetic slipstream from the spiritual perspective. Life begins moving around you the moment you stop arguing with it. Surrender is the permission slip for the future to lead you. When you stop forcing, you're not abandoning your future. You're finally allowing it to approach. You're letting your inner guidance take you to places logic would have never approved. You're letting your identity soften so it can match the timeline that's been waiting for you. You're stepping out of resistance and into resonance. And from this place, this soft, tuned-in place, the slipstream becomes real, tangible, undeniable. You feel it in your body, you sense it in your timing. You notice synchronicities showing up like breadcrumbs. Not because you chased harder, but because you finally surrendered the version of you that was standing in the way. Before we go any further, I need to tell you something that might sting a little. Not because it's harsh, but because it's true in a way you've always felt yet never had words for. If the slipstream is real, if your future truly has a current, if you're meant to be carried instead of dragged, then why aren't you in it already? Why does it feel like you get close, so close, only to slip backward again? Why does alignment feel natural one day and impossible the next? Why do you feel the pull of the future but keep falling into the gravity of the past? There's a reason. Actually, there are four silent blockers, 4 invisible patterns, 4 tiny distortions that interrupt the frequency of your future without you even noticing. I'm going to name them, but I'm not going to explain them yet, not fully, not here. 'Cause once you see these 4, you'll start noticing them everywhere in your life, and that noticing alone begins changing everything. So here they are. 1. Over-identification, the part of you that clings to your old identity, long after it's outlived its purpose. The version of you that insists, this is who I've always been, even while your future whispers, not anymore. 2. Fear of ease. The strange hidden terror that things might become too easy, and what that would mean about your worth, your effort, your identity. Ease exposes you, so you avoid it. 3. Timeline interference. Trying to force a timeline that isn't meant for you, or trying to control the timing of one that is. Either way, you distort your own path. 4. Energetic noise. The mental clutter, the emotional static, the internal volume turned up so loud that you can't hear the guidance that's always been directing you. These 4 aren't loud. They don't crash into your life. They don't announce themselves. They whisper, they nudge, they steer you a few degrees off course. Just enough that the slipstream becomes impossible to enter, but don't worry. In the next section, we're going to expose exactly how they work, why they show up, and how to dissolve them from the inside out. Because once these blockers are gone, the future doesn't just move toward you, it merges with you. There's a moment, a very specific moment, when your entire life changes, not when you work harder, Not when you fix every flaw, not when you manifest perfectly or meditate flawlessly. Your life changes the moment your energy stops contradicting the future you say you want. Read that again. Because this is the core truth of the slipstream. Your future isn't avoiding you. Your energy is pushing it away. I want you to imagine your future self standing in front of you. Not miles ahead, not hidden behind years of effort, but right there. A version of you that's confident, grounded, certain, aligned. That version of you isn't distant. It's present, alive, vibrating right next to your current timeline. But here's the problem. Every fear, every doubt, every moment of forcing, every anxious attempt to make things happen creates a frequency that contradicts the future you're trying to connect with. It's like trying to tune into a radio station while broadcasting static at full volume. You aren't chasing your future. You're interfering with the signal that brings it in. And the moment you stop interfering, the moment the contradiction dissolves, the future comes rushing in with a speed that feels almost unfair. Suddenly things just happen, not because the universe is rewarding you, but because you removed what was blocking the bridge. Identity equals frequency equals direction. People think their future is shaped by what they do. But that's not true. Your future is shaped by who you are being as you do what you do. Your identity broadcasts a frequency, and that frequency determines which timeline you align with. If your identity is rooted in fear, you attract timelines built on fear. If your identity is rooted in expansion, you attract timelines built on expansion. This is why you can work hard from the wrong identity and still go nowhere. It's not the action that creates your trajectory. It's the frequency behind it. Slipstream begins the moment your identity, your energy, and your direction finally agree with each other. You don't need to do more. You only need to stop doing what breaks alignment. Here's the quiet truth no one tells you. You don't need to add anything to become the future you. You only need to stop contradicting it. Stop forcing, stop resisting, stop clinging to who you used to be. Stop broadcasting fear about what hasn't happened yet. When the contradiction falls away, alignment becomes natural, effortless, automatic. You don't become your future self. You uncover the version of you that was always waiting beneath the noise, and that's when the slipstream activates. Not because the future arrived, but because you finally stepped out of its way. Up until now, everything we've explored has been about insight, the physics, the emotion, the identity, the energy. But a truth without embodiment is just another idea that feels good for a moment and disappears by morning. What matters now is application. How do you right now in your real life enter the slipstream? How do you stop forcing, stop contradicting your future, and start aligning with the current that's already pulling you? There are 4 practices, 4 simple, powerful mechanisms that shift you out of resistance and into the energetic draft of your future timeline. Let's walk through each one slowly, clearly, deliberately, so they can live in your body, not just your mind. 1. Energetic softening, the end of internal force. You know that feeling when you're gripping the steering wheel too hard, or clenching your jaw, or tightening every muscle just to hold it together? That's micro-forcing. And micro-forcing pulls you out of coherence. Energetic softening is the antidote. Here's the practice. Pause for 3 seconds. Exhale longer than you inhale. Relax your tongue from the roof of your mouth. Drop your shoulders 1 inch. Tiny shifts. Barely noticeable, but your nervous system registers them instantly. When you soften, your field becomes receptive again, and the slipstream becomes accessible. Softening isn't weakness, it's a doorway. 2. Timeline trust calibration, rebuilding faith in your future self. This might surprise you. You don't have a motivation problem, you have a trust problem. You don't trust that your future self exists as a real timeline. You don't trust that the path is already open. You don't trust the pull you feel. So you compensate with force. Timeline trust calibration is about collecting micro-evidence that your future self is not imaginary, but active in your field. Here's the exercise. Every time something aligns effortlessly, a message, a feeling, a moment of clarity, a coincidence so small you'd normally dismiss it, say quietly, "That's my future self communicating." You're not inventing a fantasy, you're tuning your brain to recognize synchronicities instead of ignoring them. Trust grows through repetition, and repetition stabilizes alignment. 3. Identity lighthouse. Becoming the point the future pulls toward. Every timeline needs a point of resonance. A signal so the future knows where to land. That signal is your identity, not the old identity you've outgrown, but the identity of the person who already lives inside the future you're calling in. So here's the practice. Choose one small daily behavior that your future self would do effortlessly, and do it now. Not to pretend, not to impress the universe, but to emit a stable frequency. It could be speaking with a calmer tone, walking more deliberately, dressing with a bit more intention, journaling like someone who already lives in alignment, taking one action from clarity instead of panic. Tiny identity habits send a massive signal. I'm matching the frequency, I'm ready to be pulled. The lighthouse doesn't chase ships, it emits a signal, and ships naturally move toward it. 4. Micro-surrender rituals. The 10-second reset. Forcing doesn't happen once. It happens in micro moments, hundreds of times a day. That's why you need a counter ritual, a 10-second reset that brings you back into the slipstream every time you fall out. Here's the ritual. Step 1. Release, notice the tension. Name it. Drop it. Step 2. Redirect. Ask, what would my future self do right now? Not the panicked me, not the old me, the aligned me. Step 3. Re-enter flow. Take one small, soft action that matches that future state. 10 seconds, that's all it takes. Do this dozens of times a day and your timeline stops being theoretical. It becomes magnetic. The bridge is built through subtlety, not struggle. These 4 practices are deceptively small, but they create seismic shifts because they train your mind, your body, and your energy to stop interfering with the direction your future has already chosen. Slipstream isn't a technique, it's a state, and these practices are how you enter it. I want you to picture something with me, not a memory, not a goal, but a moment that hasn't happened yet, a moment your future has been trying to hand you for years. Imagine standing in front of that future. Imagine reaching for it and realizing it was never far away. It wasn't running from you. It wasn't blocked by fate. It wasn't waiting for the perfect moment. It was waiting for you to stop pushing it away. Because here's the quiet truth. Your future isn't distant. It's obscured, covered tinok. Not by time, not by obstacles, but by the force you've been using to try to reach it. Every moment you tightened your chest, you pushed it back. Every time you panicked about timing, you dimmed its signal. Every time you fought your own energy, the timeline blurred. But the second you soften, You feel it again. You feel the pull, the clarity, the direction, the quiet knowing that says this way, just this way. Your future isn't elusive. It's present, it's near, it's available. And when you stop forcing, when you finally allow your identity, your energy, and your direction to breathe in the same rhythm, something incredible happens. The future steps forward. Not slowly, not cautiously, but with the kind of certainty you've been craving your entire life, because it was never about chasing a timeline. It was about clearing the interference so the timeline could reach you. Slipstream isn't magic, it's alignment, it's coherence. It's the moment life stops resisting your presence because you're no longer resisting your path. And once you feel that, once you sense the current carrying you, you'll never forget it. You'll never mistake forcing for progress again. Because the future, your future isn't hiding. It's been standing in front of you this whole time, waiting for you to finally feel calm enough to notice it. Before we close this chapter, I want to leave you with one final thought. A thought that isn't just a conclusion but an invitation. If entering the slipstream allows your future to reach you, then what happens next is even more extraordinary. Because once you're inside that flow, once your energy matches the timeline that was always meant for you, something shifts. You stop chasing signs, and signs start chasing you. You stop asking for direction, and direction arrives unprovoked. You stop trying to guess your next step, and your next step begins revealing itself with a clarity that feels almost supernatural. This is the moment your future self stops being a distant possibility and becomes an active participant in your present reality. You'll feel it in the timing, in the coincidences, in the intuitive pulls that make no logical sense but somehow land you exactly where you needed to be. It's not imagination, it's not wishful thinking, it's timeline merge. The point where your future self doesn't just approach your life, it starts leading it. And that is the next chapter in this journey. So in the next video, we'll explore the timeline merge, when your future self starts leading your reality, how it happens, why it happens, and how to recognize the moment your future self takes the wheel. Because once that merge begins, your life stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like destiny unfolding.